Good morning.
Good morning.
As a spiritualist, we are so blessed to have a wonderful chance to belong to an open faith that allows us to explore and define our beliefs with logical pursuit of truth and fact. We are allowed to discuss freely our beliefs and even asked to pursue explanations to back up those theories. You see, we are a science, a philosophy, and a religion. The freedom of thought and pursuit of truth is not allowed everywhere in the world, nor in all religions. In fact, most religions have set a guideline and thoughts that you must believe, or you're brandished a heretic or a heathen. But we are spiritualists, and we are asked to discover the truth and then share it. So this morning I'd like to share a story with you. Sometimes we think to ourselves that we're nothing special and that we're not able to give anything worthwhile to those around us. But this story that I would like to share with you is a true story. And it's about a small boy named Andy. Andy's mom was 35. And that's not young even in these days. 35 when she gave him birth. She was in poor health, weak of both mind and body, and already had 3 children. The family was poor, and the father was careless with the money that he did bring in. A new mouth to feed was not a blessing. The next 10 years, the family moved around a lot just to make ends meet. Andy was not able to go to school until he was 10. But that wasn't an issue with him. He didn't like it much, and he struggled. There's a saying in today's vernacular, and it's, he wasn't the brightest bulb on the tree. He was very sensitive. He was scrawny, but one of his most redeeming traits was that he loved all living things. When Andy started school, he didn't make much progress. His teacher just didn't think he could learn. So his father sent him out to work. This didn't last long because he had no real education. He couldn't read. He couldn't do the simplest of arithmetic. So the family tried sending him back to school. He had all of 6 weeks of education, and he decided that was enough. He didn't want any more. When Andy was 12, he became very ill, always having had ill health because he was raised in a poor family. He became ill with a very serious gastric disease. He couldn't hold down anything, not even water. He had always been afraid of dying. It was his worst fear. And here, this just put the icing on the cake. He was vulnerable and weak. His greatest fear was of tomorrow. What would that bring? Death. In his darkest moment, he heard a whisper say that he could drink the sweet water of the maple tree. He thought he was losing his mind. I think we all would. But he told his mom anyway. And his mom believed in spirit, which is good, because she went and got the drippings from that maple tree. And it did indeed save his life. How many times have you heard a whisper in your ear to do one thing or another? And how many times have we not listened because we thought we were smarter, or that just couldn't apply to us? Or maybe that was make-believe in our minds. I want to say to you to try and start listening. Andy, like many, had dreams and visions. We all have dreams and visions. But now He began to have waking visions and dreams that pointed him forward. At age 16, he had a vision of a pathway with beautiful flowers and a wonderful castle. This castle was filled with golden light. He could hear his mom's voice calling him and asking him to come see her new house. Oh, he thought that was just wonderful. If you could think of a poor boy growing up having nothing, and here is his mom calling him to come see this beautiful, beautiful house. When he got home, he still could only see, he was still captured in this vision of this beautiful palace, and all he could still see was his mom there. Someone spoke to him and said, "Boy, this is your mama dying." And he laughed because he didn't believe them. He only could still see the vision of his mom talking to him in this beautiful castle. But then the vision did disappear, and he was forced to acknowledge that there was his mom dying. It helped him for her to come through and show him this beautiful castle that she was now in, no longer suffering, in a beautiful place filled with flowers. What a wonderful memory for her son to take forward. So her death did not sadden him. It filled him with joy. When Andy was 18 years old, a couple of hypnotists came into town. And I don't know about you, but when something comes into town like that as a show, I'm drawn to it. I'm curious. Well, he was a very curious person too, and he walked into one of them. They claim they could perform miracles. Well, I'm not to go in to check out people who say they can perform miracles. This piqued Andy's interest, and so he went to the show. Well, the first person claimed that he could go ahead and hypnotize him. It didn't work. So he thought, yeah, right, you can do the miracles. But then the second person said that he could do miracles, and he was a hypnotist, and still interested, still curious, he checked the second one out. And he was able to hypnotize him. The second one's name was William. We're going to call him William. And Andy, always the curious type, told him he had absolutely no confidence in the charade, but he went along with the game. William was not only able to hypnotize Andy, but Andy was able from this mental state to give spirit messages, speak in many languages, do arithmetic problems that you or I would never even think of trying to do. Everyone was astounded, and not least of all Andy. These were all things well beyond his waking abilities. And this was the beginning of a path that this child took until he died at the golden age of 84.